Hello, and welcome back to Actual Edge. It's been a long time since we've last been live. This is because we've been really busy with research, focusing on different documents regarding the cure of HIV, and releasing a very important project, the HIV documentary, A Cure by 2030. You can check this documentary out in our channel. We've put our heart and soul into it, and we've really appreciated the reception by you, the audience, in this particular case. Please confirm if you can hear me correctly in the chat box. And we're going to get started. Today, we have a very interesting live session with a lot of things to talk about, a lot of interesting news and revelations regarding the cure of HIV, a difference in perspective, a difference in the way we're going to start addressing things. So if you have any questions, don't forget, the chat box is there for you to ask whatever you need, whatever assistance you may need. Hello, El Duende Satírico. Thank you very much for helping me moderate the comment section today and for confirming all these technical details. I see that there's 8 people right now in the chat box. Welcome all to Actual Edge. We are very happy to have you here in our live stream. If you haven't heard already, we are going to make some revelations today regarding the cure of HIV. Now, we are not sure if this is the information you want to hear, but our responsibility as a reliable media source that informs about health issues, we feel that we need to come to a stronger bond with our audience by revealing data that maybe our audience doesn't want to hear about. However, we are very happy to be here one more time. We're going to get started. I want you to think. Recently, we've released a documentary. It was called A Cure for HIV by 2030. What does this mean? What does a cure mean? I think it's important to clarify this. When I talk about a cure, or when we've talked about the cure many times in this channel, possibly in a clickbaity type of style, in which we almost promised to our audience that we will have a cure for HIV. Now, I think that in the mindset of our audience, a cure means an injection, a vaccine that you take once, and HIV disappears from your body. Unfortunately, in 2030, we will not have that form of cure. It's mostly related because HIV has the power of camouflaging itself in our immune system, making it difficult to reveal and making it difficult to know when the presence of the virus is, or in fact not, in your body. A cure means not reaching AIDS. In the documentary released recently by Actual Edge, we spoke that in the last 2 decades, the global community has been working towards achieving the third Sustainable Development Goal, which means ending the epidemic of HIV by 2030, or also called Project 2030, many times mentioned in this YouTube channel, Actual Edge. Many of our followers, viewers, ask us, when will you have the cure? Well, I think this information is for you guys. Pay attention. This ambitious target of ending the epidemic emerged from extensive discussions and assessments of the progress made in HIV/AIDS prevention and control. So, we have this going on. First, I think that whenever the Joint United Nations Programme on HIV has been trying to be a driving force advocating for comprehensive strategies to reduce both new HIV infections and AIDS-related deaths, I think that there's been a misunderstanding of what this really means, of what they want to let us know. This could be explained very easily through the 90-90-90 targets, 90-90-90 goals. Different people give it different names. What does this mean, 90-90-90? These targets emphasize that 90% of people living with HIV should know their status. 90% of those aware should have access to treatment, ART, antiretroviral, be it in the form of a tablet or in the form of an injection. And the objective with this is to 90% of those aware should have access to treatment, and 90% of those should achieve viral suppression. What do we mean by viral suppression? It means that there's no longer presence of HIV in your body. This will be tremendously good news, because it would mean that most of the world will no longer be affected by this horrendous disease. Does it mean that HIV will disappear from their bodies? Does it mean that there'll be a magical cure, a magical pill, a magical injection, a magical vaccine that will eliminate HIV from your bodies? I'm sorry, there will not be a cure that way. When they speak about a cure, we're talking here of trying to end the epidemic of HIV, right? We're trying to, as we approach the 2030 deadline, we have analysis that revealing a mixed picture of progress. Because, for example, AIDS-related deaths have shown a significant decline globally. Also, noteworthy success stories, including Eastern and Southern Africa, where AIDS-related death fell by 44% in the last 13 years. And other countries like Australia no longer consider AIDS a disease, signaling a remarkable achievement. This is all very positive. Now, HIV infections aren't meeting the goals established by Project 2030. HIV infections continue to be a problem in many countries around the world. Nigeria, India, Kenya, South Africa, Pakistan, Bangladesh, even some civilized countries, first world countries, countries that don't have healthcare issues, continues to have an increase of HIV cases. How bad is it? Well, how bad could it be? The question should be, instead of how bad is it? If these people that have HIV are not affected in any form or way by the disease, maybe their biggest struggle is the second-hand effects, side effects of the ART they're taking, which may affect your stomach or may affect your levels of energy. But in theory, it's almost like you have a normal life. Recently, a lot of data has been published regarding of life expectancy of those on ART. And the studies are extremely promising. Maybe the difference with a person that doesn't have HIV might be of a year, 2 years, but that data might not even be certain. One more reminder to all of our viewers today, welcome to the show. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to assist you with whatever you need. So let us know in the chat box, and as soon as I see it, I will be responding to any single question you have. If I'm speaking too fast, or if you need clarification on any of the content I'm revealing today, I'm more than happy to assist all of you here. This is a community where we all work together towards happiness. We are all trying to believe in the power of science, medicine, but we must call out all these associations, giving people the impression that the cure will just be an injection and your HIV will disappear. Unfortunately, this will not be the case for now. So, I want to know what you think about it. I want to know how you feel about this new vision of HIV that doesn't necessarily mean that the cure will come in the form of an injection that will make the virus disappear from your body, but achieving global uh, endemic suppression of the virus. What does this mean? Achieving a moment where countries are people are no longer dying from AIDS. People are not dying. People don't have access to healthcare. We're talking about people knowing their status. We're talking about countries that are achieving and making giant strides in terms of HIV, like Eswatini, or the previously formerly called Swaziland, a land that has achieved 95, 95, 95. So 95% of people in Eswatini have been tested for HIV. Of those that have tested positive, 95% of people have access to ART. And of those, 95% have achieved viral suppression, meaning that there's no longer a strong presence of the virus in their body, making them live a normal life. This is the cure of HIV. The cure, meaning that the disease it no longer has a strong impact in our lives. If you don't like taking your ART, I am very sorry. I truly am. My heart goes out to you. I feel nothing but sympathy, and I can understand how frustrating it is to be taking a pill every day that might have a wide range of side effects that is making your life worse. However, it's the only current solution to this problem. The only one that people can afford. There's another solution that has been on the news that we've informed about extensively: gene editing or CRISPR technology. Gene editing or CRISPR technology is basically one of the comments in our channel recently said waiting for gene editing to exist is like waiting for the second time around of Jesus. Well, to a certain extent, he might be right. However, we have some promising news that I'm going to share with you regarding the technology CRISPR being the ultimate solution of HIV. HIV and cell culture can be completely eliminated using CRISPR Cas gene editing technology, increasing hopes of cure. So, this cure they're speaking about would be an actual cure. The thing is, I don't think anybody fully understands gene editing except for maybe people creating it. I think they haven't been that transparent on how the cure for all these diseases, including cancer, including baldness, including blindness, can be cured by a technology by altering your DNA and putting a piece of another DNA. It's a bit ambiguous, in all fairness, but we believe in Actual Edge in the power of science, and we don't want to disregard it. But we will read an article that questions the methods using by HIV. But first, by HIV, not by, by gene editing. Sorry about that, had a lapsus. So let me share with you this positive news about gene editing and CRISPR technology. New research presented early ahead of this year's European Congress of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases from a team of researchers in the Netherlands show how the latest CRISPR Cas gene editing technology can be used to eliminate all traces. Pay attention to this. So this means there won't be any residue of HIV in your body once you've gotten the CRISPR Cas gene editing technology acting on you. Eliminating all traces of the HIV virus from infected cells in the laboratory, raising hopes of a cure. The studies, led by Dr. Elena Herrera Carrillo and part of her team, including Yualing Bao, Zhengzhao Yu, and Pascal Kroon, at Amsterdam in Netherlands, present a significant breakthrough in the search for a HIV cure. CRISPR Cas gene editing technology is a groundbreaking method in molecular biology that allows for precise alterations to the genomes of living organisms. This revolutionary technique, which brought its inventors Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier The Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2020 enables scientists to accurately target and modify specific segments of an organism's DNA, or also called a genetic code. Functioning like molecular scissors with the guidance of guide RNA, CRISPR-Cas can cut the DNA at designated spots. This action facilitates either the deletion of unwanted genes or the introduction of new genetic materials into an organism's cells, paving the way for advanced therapies, including the potential cure of HIV. Right? So we have it, we've heard it many times, and we continue to hear it. The cure is coming in the form of gene editing. We would wish this is true. We would also wish we would see it in our lifetime. Now, do we believe it will be available? I think that due to the amount of limited information that we get about it, the lack of consistency, the lack of guidance, the lack of certainty from the people designing this treatment, I don't think we will see it in our lifetime. Maybe in 100 years, in 200 years, and at what cost? Because even the beta stage that they're trialing right now, what is this going to mean? That you have to pay $2 million, $1 million to get treatment? How many people can afford this? Very few. So are we just creating a cure that could be accessible by a few minority of people, by the 1% of the population who has access to that amount of money? Are we going to make people sell their houses to get this cure of HIV that is currently being trialed? I am a bit uncertain about this, as uncertain as they've made me feel. One of the significant challenges in HIV treatment, as we mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, is the virus's ability to integrate its genome into the host's DNA. This makes it extremely difficult to eliminate completely from your body. So while viral suppression in your body is possible to a certain extent, just like with herpes, HPV, it's very difficult to eliminate. Numerous potent antiviral drugs are currently in use for treating HIV infection. Despite the efficacy, lifelong antiviral therapy is essential, as HIV can rebound from established reservoirs when treatment is halted. The authors explain that CRISPR-Cas genome editing tools provides a new means to target HIV DNA. They say, and listen to this, let's explore the choice of words made by these scientists. Our aim is to develop a robust and safe combinational CRISPR-Cas regimen, striving for an inclusive HIV cure for all that can inactivate diverse HIV strains across various cellular contexts. HIV can infect different types of cells and tissues in the body, each with its own unique environment and characteristics. The researchers are thus searching for a way to target HIV in all of these situations. In this research, the authors used molecular scissors and two gRNAs against conserved HIV sequences, meaning they focused on parts of the virus genome that stayed the same across all known HIV strains and achieved cure of HIV-infected T cells. By focusing on these conserved sections, the approach aims to provide a broad spectrum capable of combating multiple HIV variants effectively. When? We don't know. How? We vaguely know. Why? Because we need a cure. But we are not going to get this cure in the next 10 years. This is not part of the Project 2030. Suraj Shinde, we do not know how much time will it take to come into the market. But we will assume that it won't be soon because it's still trialing. and I don't think they still have a clear idea on how this is going to be cured. And even when it does, Mr. Suraj, it's convenient for you to know that the price is going to be extremely high. I'm not sure from what income background, what's your social status, or how much money you make, but I don't think it will be cheaper than $1 million US. I'm not sure how much that is in rupees, but you can make the conversion. I'm not sure about you, Mr. Suraj, but I most certainly know that I do not have $1 million. Also, thank God, I don't suffer from this disease. But our empathy, our heart goes out to all the people who do. And the reason we're live streaming, it's not about the money. It's not about trying to make anything from this. It's about spreading awareness. It's about making people aware that this disease is not going anywhere. But we can stop this disease from killing people anywhere else. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Suraj. If any of the other viewers we have would like to ask any questions, feel free to do so in the chat box. Now, guys, I'm going to continue reading. That I would like to clarify a few aspects of this gene editing. They explain that the size of the vehicle, also known in scientific terms as vector, used to transport the cassette encoding the therapeutic CRISPR-Cas regions into the cells. This presents logistical challenges as these are too long, too large. They would not fit. Thus, the authors trialed various techniques to try and reduce the size of the cassette and therefore of the vector system itself. Let me explain this in simpler terms so everybody can understand. They are attempting to pack oversized luggage into a compact car for a journey to the infected cell, leading them to find ways to downsize the luggage, also called cassette, for easier transport. Another issue the authors wanted to overcome was reaching the HIV reservoir cells that rebound when HIV antiretroviral treatment is stopped. The reservoir cells are cells contained in our body that contain traces of HIV, and once we stop taking the medicine, there's a HIV rebound in our body. For that reason, don't stop taking your medicine. This gene editing is only a promise of a cure with no evidence. Right now, listen to your doctor. Listen to your doctor. Take your medicine. Have a healthy lifestyle. Have protected sex. If you're going to have an unhealthy sexual lifestyle, ensure you're taking PrEP or prophylaxis exposure. So, in the case there might be a transmission, it's eradicated. So, the authors of this paper defending gene editing for the 50th time further evaluated various CRISPR-Cas systems from different bacteria to determine effectiveness and safety in treating CD4 plus T cells infected with HIV. They shared results from two systems, SACAS9 and CJCES. SACES9 showed outstanding antiviral performance, managing to complete inactivate HIV with a single guide RNA called gRNA, and Excise cut out the viral DNA with 2 gRNAs. So basically, imagine a scissors, imagine a gene, a genome, we cut apart, we stick it to the other, and voila, you're cured from HIV. I'm being a bit sarcastic today, but it gives me the feeling every time we read or we inform about CRISPR technology that it's all a bit vague and not even the people who manage it really know what it's all about. Now, the authors say we have developed an efficient combinatorial CRISPR attack on the HIV virus in various cells and the locations where it can be hidden in reservoirs, and demonstrated that the therapeutics can be specifically delivered to the cells of interest, and these findings represent a pivotal advancement towards designing a cure strategy. Wow, strong words. But when will it be in the market? When will it be released for the public? When are you going to confirm it actually works? Where are you going to start testing it? When is this going to stop being a faraway promise to become something that could happen? When? A lot of people are thinking about this. A lot of people are questioning medicine because of this. A lot of people are starting to make wild theories about this promise of a vaccine that has been happening since the virus emerged, since the virus peaked in the 1990s, and people were dying from it. The promise of a vaccine, 2030, the cure of HIV. No. So, we have another article that we wanted to share with you called The Dark Side of CRISPR. This article, written by Sandy Sufjan and Rosemary Garland Thompson, questions its potential ability to fix people at the genetic level is a threat to those who are judged by society to be biologically inferior. We are not sure what this perspective is going to be, but we will share it with you. So we've read an article supporting CRISPR as a solution of HIV. Now we're going to read another one that questions the ethical component behind CRISPR technology. Let's have a look. Americans have celebrated the fact that Biden administration is embracing science and returning the country to evidence-based policymaking. We agree that science should guide policy except in cases where it wouldn't assist people to live their lives but would instead exclude them. The CRISPR-Cas gene editing technology, for which biochemists Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuelle Charpentier won the Nobel Prize of Chemistry, has the potential to do that. So do other forms of scientist technologies. We should therefore always be aware of the ethical choices these technologies can pose. In the case of CRISPR, those choices are complex. CRISPR has many functions. One of these is that it can be used to treat disease. Yet, the far-reaching, more fraught promise of this technology, one about which scientists seem at once excited and cautious, lies in its ability to eliminate from the gene pool what medical science identifies as faulty or abnormal genes that cause difference in individual people. Certainly goes the logic of CRISPR's promise, the goal of ridding future generations of terrible diseases that cause suffering and death, deplete resources, seem unquestionable enterprise. But Doudna herself has recognized that CRISPR carries with it a great risk. Gene editing, the potential cure of HIV, has a great risk, said by the author of this. This came out in a New York Times interview of October 22, 2020. Here, she warned us about the unknown consequences of in vivo editing, cautioning researchers to wait to use CRISPR for those ends. So, on the one hand, we have many magazines paid by many different companies to tell you listening this video, the cure of HIV is here. Is it? When the same person in charge of it is actually saying, and I'm going to read and I'm going to quote from this interview, right? As disability study scholars and women with genetic differences who are experts In thinking about the consequences of this technology will have for actual human beings, we have grave worries that the use of these genetic scissors will in the future cut people like us out of existence without others even noticing. Scientists who use CRISPR could see editing genes such as ours out to the gene pool as entirely uncontroversial. This attitude, in fact, would be consistent with wider societal views. The idea that ridding society of genetic differences that count as disease or defect is an undeniable good continues to be pervasive in our society. Americans generally see no problem with editing genes linked to broad swaths of people like us. After all, supporters of this view may argue editing with a gene linked condition is different from gene editing out a person, and curing disease is undisputably a good thing for all of us. But our genetic conditions are not simply entities that can be clipped away from us as if they were some kind of a misspelled word or an awkward sentence in a document. We are whole beings with our genetic conditions, forming a fundamental part of who we are. Still, many Americans, including medical providers and even some people with genetic differences, consider lives such as ours not worthy living as they are. Further, the common belief that ridding disease and anomaly from society is an incontrovertible good can lead very quickly from the actual possibilities of science to fantasies of improving humanity, where we would all become some aspirational version of personhood that is somehow better, stronger, smarter, and healthier. But CRISPR's tantalizing offer to achieve the supposedly best kind of people and the genetic level is an uneasy alert to those who are often judged to be biologically inferior. One we know all too well: women, whose being is inseparable from the genetic conditions, would be the first to go. Again, if you've just joined the live stream, welcome everybody. We are talking today about the HIV cure. If you missed any of this information, remember you can ask any question you need in the chat box. We are happy to create a community. We're happy to answer your questions. We are doing this because we want our audience to know the truth. We want our audience to feel safe. We want our audience to know what's going on and the most recently updated news regarding HIV. Actual Edge is no longer the Actual Edge you know. Actual Edge will now focus on the creation of documentaries, the creation of information regarding science. And it will especially focus on the truth. We feel that we may have been not untruthful. All our videos have been contrasted with many scientific papers now. But we do recognize that we've been extremely optimistic, and the way we've been putting the titles in our videos or carrying a very strong optimism has led to a lot of people thinking that there will be a cure that will eradicate HIV from your body by 2030. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the cure means the 95 95 95 objective. Okay? So remember, if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat box. We will be very happy to assist you with whatever you need. Now, let's continue. We both have genetic conditions that many people consider serious enough to eliminate from the human gene pool. One of us lives with cystic fibrosis and the other form of sedentary. Both of these conditions have shaped our bodies and our lives. Sandy's affected lungs require several hours of treatment each day, and Rosemary's affected hands limit her manual dexterity. They are The authors of these articles are among the 1 billion people in the world, 15% of the population, and 61 million people in the US, 26% of all adults, who are considered disabled. They are among the 10% of adults who have genetic condition. And this is what we want to share. Right now, if you have HIV, focus on taking your ART. Focus on having a healthy lifestyle. Focus on having safe sex. And try your best to continue having this life, and be thankful that you have a medicine that is actually not allowing HIV to turn into AIDS. I know taking ART is difficult. I'm sure a lot of you can confirm in the chat box. You have HIV, you've been prescribed ART, and you don't want to take it any longer. Understandable. But right now, it's the only solution. And as the only solution, is the only way you have to have a low viral load in your body and not let it pay an important toll on your health. So, a few things that I wanted to mention as well is that since Joe Rogan mentioned in his podcast that there might not be a connection between AIDS and HIV, we've done a little bit of research on the topic, and we encountered this author talking about how this is actually true, how science has proven that there's no connection between HIV and AIDS. Her name is Rebecca Colshaw, and she published a book that recently has been modified, has been updated, called The Real AIDS Epidemic. And we are going to read one of the chapters in this book. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. The outstanding lack of evidence supporting the HIV paradigm can be summarized in both biological and epidemiological terms. For the sake of simplicity, this book will present a summary of the major biological criticisms first, and will follow with the epidemiological inconsistencies. Also, please notice that there is a considerable overlap between this chapter and the previous one, since many of the reasons to doubt the validity of HIV tests can also cast doubt on the ability of HIV to cause any disease. HIV is said to be caused by a dramatic loss of the immune system's T cells, said loss being presumably caused by HIV. However, as recently as March of 2006, longtime HIV researcher Dr. Zvi Grossman stated in a paper published in Nature Medicine that examined the various hypotheses of HIV-mediated T-cell depletion and found them all wanting the pathogenic and physiological process leading to AIDS remain a mystery. Why is it that still no one understands the dynamic of the fundamental disease process that is how are T cells actually killed by HIV? Early models assumed that HIV T cells directly by what is referred to as lysis. An infected cell lyses or bursts when the internal viral burden is so high that it can no longer be contained, just like the grocery bag breaks when it's too full. This is the accepted mechanism of pathogenesis for virtually all over pathogenic viruses. But it became clear that HIV did not kill T cells in this manner, and this concept was abandoned to be replaced by various other ones, each of which resulted in very different models and therefore different predictions. Which model was correct was never clear. There is still no consensus as to how HIV kills T cells, although the notion of apoptosis, also known as programmed cell death, has become popular despite no real evidence of its occurrence. In laboratory experiments, where apoptosis has been demonstrated in HIV infected cells culture, apoptosis is detected only after the addition of powerful chemical stimulants called mitogens. However, uninfected cultures that have been mitogenetically stimulated also demonstrate apoptosis. It is claimed that the presence of the envelope protein GP120 and its oligomer GP41 prime CD4 plus T cells early for a future process of programmed cell death. However, it is shown that neither GP120 nor GP41 are specific to HIV, and GP41 is presumed by Luc Montagner's group to be cellular actin, an ubiquitous component of all cells. The conundrum of how proteins that are present in normal cells could possibly induce apoptosis only in the cells of HIV positive individuals has never been resolved, creating a mystery, creating uncertainty, making people question where is this really coming from. Yet these retroviruses are not thought to induce apoptosis to anywhere near to the extent that HIV supposedly does. HIV is possibly the most studied microbe in history. Certainly, it is the best funded. Yet, there's still no agreed upon method of pathogenesis. There are good reasons to believe that HIV is not pathogenic at all. One important reason is the fundamental nature of retroviruses themselves. So, retroviruses were popular in the 1970s war on cancer research programs as candidates for cancer causing viruses because, unlike more pathogenic viruses, retroviruses do not kill the cells they infect. In fact, in some instances, it was found that cells infected by retroviruses actually grew at faster than normal rate. However, despite findings that some retroviruses did seem to be associated with tumors in animals, the quest to find a cancer causing retrovirus has been an absolute failure and disaster. Now, a chat, we're going to leave our live stream here today. Tomorrow, we will be back to give you some new updates regarding the HIV cure. Thank you very much for joining the live stream today. We hope that you found this useful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, activate notifications so you get any other live stream or documentary produced by Actual Edge, and we will see you soon in the channel. Thank you very much, everybody. Many thanks, and see you soon.